How's it going, everybody, and welcome back. It's been about 28 days since I had the concrete poured for these pads for the lift, so that should be enough time for it to cure according to the instructions and everything else I've seen online. So we're going to go ahead and wing it, see if we can get this lift installed. Now, I've never installed a lift myself. A lot of my friends have them. I've watched a lot of videos on the internet on how to do it. I've read the instructions. It doesn't seem like it's that big of a deal. Getting the towers up might be a little tricky for me to do on my own, so might have to call in a favor. I don't know. We'll just have to see. But anyway, we're going to give it a shot. Well, I pulled the lift out from where it's been sitting for months just to kind of inventory it, make sure that nothing is obviously broken or missing or bent or whatever it is. So I've been just kind of looking at what we've got here. I picked up some stuff that we'll need. Now, the guy that I bought off of, he said that this is what it takes, 5/8 by 6, wedge type anchors. But once I started getting into the lift and looking at that one box, it comes with like these nice big beefy 3/4 inch dichromate, wedge anchors. So we're gonna go ahead and use these things. So I got the nice carbide tip 3/4 inch bit, and I just had to go buy like a $40 hammer drill from Harbor Freight. Now, it's not as nice as a rotary hammer, but for 40 bucks, I don't really ever use a rotary hammer, so we're going to just give this thing a shot. See, we've only got like 8 bolts or something like that on this thing, so it shouldn't be a big deal. It's just a 6-inch bit, but these, about the right size, so I think we're good to go. Well, I wasn't sure if I would film just taking this thing all apart, like unboxing it or whatever, but I figured maybe some of you guys might be interested in seeing what's in there and how it's all packed up. So I'll go ahead and throw the camera up on the tripod and see what happens with all of that. I also do have some footage of the guys when they cut out the concrete and put in the rebar and dug it all out, all that different stuff. So I don't know what it'll look like once I start editing it, but I might throw that stuff in there too. But anyway, let's get unpacking this thing. Well, once again, I spoke too soon, so this will be another masterpiece of editing. The whole thing is filled with mouse pee, mouse poop. These arms are jammed in there. You can see it's just wedged up in. It's all scratched up where I've been trying to get it out. So I don't know how they got all this stuff in here. The only thing I could think of is that they had this cap off, which is like the bottom pulley, and then slid all the arms and stuff in it, and then bolted the end on it. So that's all I can think of right now, because this stuff doesn't want to come out. It's about a 1/2 inch too big for the C channel that the tower is made out of. So yeah, it's filled with mouse pee, mouse poop. It's really gross. So I'm gonna just go ahead and take care of this the best that I can. I'll get it all apart, and then afterwards we'll take a look at it and see. So sorry if the edit is going to be a little choppy and weird. I do that all the time. I always speak too soon, thinking that something's going to go right and whatever. And by the time I'm like already too deep into it, it's hard to edit around it because it just sounds like I'm saying stuff and never doing them. But anyway, that's just the way things go with YouTube and doing things on the fly that you haven't done before. Unscripted everything, just winging it. So whatever. I'll go ahead and get all this stuff out. We'll worry about all the rest later. All right, so this is the contraption that I rigged up in order to get this stuff apart. I got my cherry picker holding up this first tower, and then the jack underneath the second tower. I had to do all of that to get the frame off, which is right there. This is the one on this side. The shipping frame or whatever to keep everything from twisting and falling apart. So just 6 bolts, no big deal. Pop that stuff off, and then I had to take this cap off the other side. I did find a mouse nest in here, so that's probably one of the sources of the disgusting smell in here, and full of like mouse pee and poop. Hopefully, if we're lucky, the mice didn't chew up the hydraulic hoses. If that's the case, that's gonna suck. So I don't know. It's the worst possible side too. the side that's down with the mouse nest, and that's where the coil of hydraulic hoses are. So let's hope for the best. Again, pulled this pulley off, and that is how I'll be able to pull the arms out of this C-channel. Well, not an ideal situation, but it is what it is. Down here, it's super great. They put a bunch of grease along this track, and all it did was collect tons of mouse pee and poop and stuff. So we've got like a pretty disgusting and rancid collection of nastiness there. I did manage to get it out of the way, so that's good. Here we go. Got quite a lot down in there. Thing is just full. So this will be fun, but yeah, anyway. I don't know what I'll find when I actually get these things apart. I guess we can see. There we go. Well, good. It doesn't look like the mice have eaten up the hydraulic hoses. So I'll call that a win right now. I don't even know. I guess I would have had to have those made specifically. I don't know. But we don't have to. It's just cleaning all this stuff up. So nasty. Anyway, moving on. Gross. Yeah. So nasty. Yeah, so it's pretty gross. Looks like the mouse nest goes way up into the arms too. Oh, gross, dude. Frickin' mice. I guess we'll see what's in here. That's nasty. Alright, well, I guess we just have to continue to pull it all out. Alright, well, it's another day out here. It's a little chillier. I did manage to clean out all the mouse remnants from the channels of the towers, so I think that we're good on that one. Everybody's busy, so I don't have a ton of help, so I'm going to try to wing it on my own and lift the tower with the tractor bucket. I've hooked up a chain. Watched some other videos and stuff online and read through the instructions again. I mean, people are doing it with just 2 people, so I think me and a tractor should be able to get it done, right? I hope so. So I'll show you what I got going down, and we'll go from there. All right, so the instructions say from the back side of that plate at the bottom on each one should be 138 inches across. I did make my little template. All these red lines here on the outside, that's the rebar. So with my template, and lined up right here, I'll miss all of the rebar just as I planned, so should be able to drill straight through there and never hit any rebar. So going across here, I haven't measured the other side yet. All the videos that I've watched from installers and stuff, they say just to pick one of the units or one of the towers, set that in place first, and don't worry about the other one until a little bit later on. So that's the plan. I did hook up a chain on the front here with some little hooks. We're going to go ahead and throw a chain on that, put it on the tractor, and I think we should be able to just tip it up and then stand it in place and just kind of walk it around after that. I don't think it'll be a big deal. All of the center of gravity is on the end here, so there won't be a ton of weight right here. So hopefully it'll just stand up and be fine. But anyway, that's basically it. Once I get this thing, kind of centered and in place, I'll do some more measurements and then try to work on this tower next. you're a one-man show, you have to delete the seat safety on your vehicle so that you can get out and actually use them without the tractor shutting off. All right. I don't know. We'll figure out a way to get you to see in a minute. It's relatively straight. Oh, it's looking good. So that's pretty close. So it's off a little bit. I don't know how well you can see it, but if we were to kick it off and make it straight, you can see the gap that we have down there that we have to somehow fill. Now they come with shims. These are some shims that you can put underneath each one of these little pads there at the bottom. They're like a 1/16 of an inch thick. They might be some type of metric size or whatever, but anyways. But I was super hyper focused on cleaning up all the mice and getting the wiring all together and a bunch of other things. There were some glaring issues that it should have tipped me off that there was something going on here that I needed to pay attention to. Number one is this thing here. So I thought that this was the overhead part of the clear floor hoist and there was stuff packed inside of here and I just needed to unpack it. Well, once I started kind of unwrapping it, I noticed that this is tread plate. So there's no reason that tread plate would be in a clear floor hoist. Clear floor meaning it's clear floor. There's no like hump there that you would push a car over. All of the hydraulic and wiring and stuff goes over the top. Then of course, it's 4 ton instead of, that would be 8,000 pounds. So it's not a 9,000 pound lift. There isn't any model number or anything on this lift. So this isn't a clear floor hoist. And also this is not an asymmetric arm hoist. It's a symmetric arm hoist. Now the guy told me this was an asymmetric arm, 9,000 pound clear floor hoist. And when I bought it, it's not the end of the world because I don't really work on anything that's super mega heavy, so I don't really care that it's not that. But he did show me the things that he bought it from, like the ads and what he got in the email and stuff like that. And I even printed out, the manual. So this is the manual basically for this lift. Now the X is like the newer one, but this is supposed to be a TP9 KAC Tuxedo brand. Clear floor, asymmetric arm, 9,000 pound lift. Clear floor, again, nothing on the floor. Cables and hydraulics go over the top, and it has this little safety bar at the top with a limit switch. So if you raised up a vehicle and you got a little bit too high, it would hit this bar, trip this limit switch, shut off the power unit, and you wouldn't damage your building or your vehicle. Asymmetric arm, meaning that's how the arms look. One is longer, one's kind of got a funky curve to it and everything, and it's a different size. So these are pretty good for cars. Symmetric arm lifts are better for trucks and stuff. So this is actually what I wanted. So I'm not even disappointed by that. But now I have to kind of wonder, I'm like, well, this isn't what they either shipped the guy or this isn't what the guy told me he had. So again, the price was okay, so I'm not super, concerned with that. It was brand new. I didn't have to disassemble it. It was all packed up and it made it easy on me. I just have to wonder now, like, do I have all the parts to make this thing work? What could possibly be missing? And what lift is this thing actually? So I don't know. Again, the lift arms on this one are symmetric arms, which is good. It's only 8,000 pound. And it's not clear floor. So I just have to make sure that I've got the right parts and stuff for it. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do a little bit of research, kind of try to figure out what this thing actually is, what I've got, and then start going through parts and stuff to make sure that I have what I need. So once I figure all that stuff out, I'll get back with you and, we'll go from there. Okay, well, I made some progress. Now, I noticed that this chain over here on one of these pulleys, this pulley right here, the chain was kind of sitting off on the pulley. So I started kind of looking around inside of that column and I noticed that there was a manual down in the bag inside the column. So I found the manual for this lift, which is good, but it's not a tuxedo lift. So it's like an unbranded lift. So whether or not the guy that I bought this thing from or whatever knew that, I don't know. Like, why would he supply me with a whole bunch of like fake like models and whatever? I don't know. It doesn't matter. Over the course of the months and months that I've owned this lift and had it sitting here, I've talked to dozens of people about these lifts to make sure it's safe, because I am going to be underneath of it after all. And the consensus that I've gotten is essentially most of these lifts are the same in this price range. So a lot of people put their stickers and their names on them, but essentially they're basically all the same in this price range. So whether or not that's true or not, I don't know. We're just going to go ahead and roll with it, and I'll show you what the manual says. All right, so there you go. 2-post lift original operation manual. It's not very descriptive in here, but it does kind of show the distances, which I converted, so 134 inches. The other one said it was 138 between these pads, so some of the distances did change, or the measurements, so I'm glad that I did find this thing. There isn't a whole lot more really in it, other than some of the, like how to push the buttons and whatnot. But it does say that the capacity is 4,000 kilograms, which is about 8,800 pounds once you do the conversion, so that's fine. You know, 8,800 pounds is okay. Other than that, there's not a whole lot more to it. You know, the installation instructions are pretty basic. But anyway, that's it. So now that I know like what the distances are, I'm just going to go ahead and lift up the other tower and just kind of sit it in place, so they're both just sitting in place. And since that's probably going to be one of the most interesting parts of this video, I'll go ahead and stick this thing on a tripod, and we'll go ahead and lift it up with the tractor and put it over here. Both of the towers are standing up now, so that's pretty nice that they're off the ground. I actually forgot what it looked like in here that's been sitting around for so long. I still have to measure everything out and make sure that I've got everything to spec and that this will fit in there. It's pretty boring stuff. Figure out the routing and how all this goes. Make sure that all of the hardware is actually here for the hydraulics and all of that different stuff before I drill any of this stuff out, fit this into place. But yeah, so it's a little chilly tonight. I'm getting tired. I'm gonna go on inside. This is a lot of progress. You know, I didn't know how I was gonna get these things up, but luckily, once I took those caps off the top where those pulleys went, that's what opened up the opportunity to use the chain and the hooks. So that helped out a ton. We were max lift on the tractor bucket too, so I couldn't have went much higher than that. So that's it for tonight. I'll get cracking on it again tomorrow. Well, it's a much warmer day out today. You saw that I got both of those towers lined up, or stood up rather. I'll show you what I got going down. I measured some things out, and I found out who makes this lift. So I sat that tread plate down into place. There's some bolts in each corner of it, or each side of it, or whatever you want to call it. So now I know, you know, where the towers fit in relation to that. So this is the right width apart. When I snapped the chalk line down, I did measure off of this center line right here, so I know that this is as straight as I can get it in relation to that line, and that's pretty straight to the walls there. So got everything pretty much lined up. Now this tower right here should be right on the money. Everything, you know, is like 2 inches right there from the edge of the lift to that line that I struck with a big square. So that should be squared up, and it looks like it's square against the walls there. So I think that we're good. Everything lines up pretty well. The other side needs a little tweaking, but nothing too extreme. So I guess we're just going to level this tower, put some shims under it, and then, you know, hopefully drill some holes, bolt this one down, then move on to this one. And then as far as who makes this lift, My dad found this when he was reading through it. Hang tie 2-post lift. So he did a little bit of Googling around. There's really no information in here. And what we figured out is that this is basically a generic white box lift. So the hang tie company or whatever would make this lift and then sell it to other companies that would then rebrand it as their own, repaint it with whatever their colors are, put their big stickers on it, all that. So it's just a generic lift, and then other companies then sell it as their own. So I'm sure it's probably fine. Most lifts in this price range are roughly the same thing anyway. I bet there's probably only a couple of companies out there actually making lifts, maybe 3, who knows? I don't know. Let me know in the comments below if you know how many companies actually produce lifts, not US based, but you know, this one's overseas. So I'd be curious to know. This thing came with a whole bunch of hardware that I don't actually know what it's for, and the instructions don't say anything. So it's all just a puzzle to figure out what to do with all of this. Some of it will be to mount the hydraulics on, and then maybe some of it is for, yeah, putting, this is like the little, look at that. Perfect. So this thing holds up some of these little extensions. We'll kind of get into that later on once we figure out, you know, what to do. But I really don't know how to put this thing together, and that instruction manual is useless. All right, I had to use some shims. I think there's one over here, 2 over on this corner, and then 1 right here. But overall, I think we're pretty solid. So might be off just a tad little bit. But that's good enough for me. So this one is straight. I still got to put the little end cap deals on it. But I'll go ahead and drill some holes and get this thing locked down. And that is about as exciting as it gets for the bolts and stuff. Drill them out, hammer them in. There you go. So we're looking pretty solid right there. We're still looking good here. A little bit off, but not that big of a deal. It's pretty good. So I'm going to leave those 2 in there. Put the cap on top. Measure out this one to make sure that it's at the right distance and it's, you know, even to that one. So just measure it apart. Make sure everything is good, and then drill and bolt those to the floor, anchor them to the floor. So that's essentially what I'm going to do. I don't know how long it'll take. And then after that, we'll try to string the cables across the top and see how the heck goes. All right, we got 107 7/8 on this side. And it's 107 7/8 on the other side. Boom. So we're good. We're even. Did I already tell you guys that I don't really know what I'm doing? So just trying to triple check, quadruple check myself before I drill holes, because this is the important one. This one has to basically be arranged and whatnot off of that one. So I think that we're good, really. I'll double check a few more measurements, and then I'm pretty sure that we can just start leveling this tower and drilling it and anchoring it down. Okay, well, I rearranged the cable routing on here because this one is in the front. So I switched it so that it goes on the front side of that pulley right there. It goes down behind this thing, exits through that pulley, goes underneath this to that pulley right there, and then comes up and locks into this hole right there. And it's basically a mirror image on this side. Comes out through this one, goes up, down, underneath, over, and then locks in to that hole right there. The hydraulic line ports right down there, you know, that also goes underneath this central plate to tie them both together. I believe, yeah, so that's all it is. And then this one right here will come up and attach to the power unit, which bolts onto here and hangs. So there might be some other funky thing that I have to connect here. I'm not sure yet, but either way, the hydraulic cylinders do need to be attached together, and that's the only way that I can see to do it. So I don't know what that other connector over there goes to yet, but we'll figure it all out. So I'm going to run these cables, and I think it'll all be okay. All right, so that's essentially it. Underneath those, across, up, over, all that. This is the adjustment, and it's also the adjustment for when the locks engage on both sides. These are the locks, all those little ridges there. That's what keeps, you know, the arms from falling down. That's what they're sitting on right now. So the way that you synchronize the locks on both sides are by adjusting these cables. So right now I just have to kind of figure out what to do with the hydraulic hoses. And then after that, put the arms on, all of the little associated hardware. And that should basically be it, other than the wiring and stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and try to see what to do about this hydraulic stuff. Well, I think I've got all the big stuff done. It's like 10 o'clock at night. Let me show you what's going on. There are 5 bolts in each one of these pads. So I've got all 5 in. They're all drilled out. They're not torqued yet. They're just snug. So that's all good. I did manage to attach the hydraulic line. So I got that one going over there. It's attached right there on the other side. So it's got all 5 bolts in it. There's another one of the hydraulic hoses. It's just laying in there right now. The power unit hangs off of this, so that will go to that. I'm not entirely sure where this goes yet. It might go to the power unit or something. You know, this might be the plug for that. It goes in the side and then down or something. But I'm going to wait to do that. I've been told that that's super heavy, and it's kind of tricky to hang up there. A lot of people drop them, according to the videos that I've watched and stuff. So I'll worry about that tomorrow. And then you could see these guides down in here, basically hydraulic hose in the middle, and then the cables go on each side, and it just kind of sits in there and keeps them from rubbing on each other. So yeah, everything seems to be going pretty good. The rest of it I'll deal with tomorrow. Still have to do the wiring, circuit breaker, whatnot. Unfortunately, right here in the middle, I did run into a piece of rebar, so I just overlooked that. It was only by like a ½ an inch, maybe not even that. So that bolt got canted over a little bit out on an angle, but it does seem to be tightening up. So I ended up going in there and grinding it out with my carbide burr, the best that I could. That took quite a while. But man, you know, 5/8 out of all of this space here, I misaligned this by 5/8 of an inch, wouldn't you know it? But anyway, that's it for tonight. I'll see you tomorrow. All right, it's another day out here. Started looking at the instructions for both lifts, the one that I don't have and the one that I do have. Some kind of weird discrepancies. So this is for the other lift, but they both are for 3/4 inch anchors. And this one says, do not tighten, if anchors do not tighten to 130 foot-pounds, installation torque, replace the concrete under each column or whatever. So it's saying 130 foot-pounds is what the anchor should be torqued to. Now this other manual here, all right, because here it's telling me, you know, yada yada, there's the pad after vertical adjustment, tighten nut and bolt. Tighten torque is about 80 Newton meters. So 80 Newton meters is just shy of 60 foot-pounds. So I don't even know what to say about that. I mean, that's like a huge difference. Both of these are for 3/4 inch anchors. I mean, 60 foot-pounds is nothing. It's actually 80 newton meters is like 58 foot-pounds or something like that. So I think I'm going to err on the side of caution and do 150. I guess. Just 60 just doesn't seem like a lot. I don't know. Let me know in the comments below what you guys have done for your lifts. I'll check around online a little bit, but I mean, concrete is concrete. 3/4 inch anchors are 3/4 inch anchors. So, you know, at the end of the day, a steel plate's a steel plate. You know, for the most part, 150 foot-pounds on a 3/4 inch anchor. It should be, you know, all the same. So I don't know why it says 58 foot-pounds. That's just, or 80 newton meters. It's weird. I did check these at the, I put it at 60 foot-pounds, went around there. That seemed pretty tight. I don't even know if I could pull 150 foot-pounds on one of these without pulling the anchors out. So I really don't want to have to disassemble this entire lift and then move it over or move it to a different location because I pulled the anchors out. So I'm going to leave them at 60 right now. And then if something changes, whatever. I asked in a group online that deals with machine tools and cranes and hoists and stuff like that, you know, what everybody thought about epoxying anchors into the ground, wedge style anchors and epoxy style anchors, because I've watched a lot of installation videos on these lifts where the guys say just for, you know, added strength, they do put epoxy around the wedge type anchors and then stick them in there and, you know, wait, and then they dry up. And you got to do it when it's wet so that the collar will still slide, but once it locks in, it's like super locked in. So I just wanted to double check that online with a few different groups. I asked the question. They lost their mind. They went bananas. You can't use epoxy with wedge anchors. That's crazy. You know, you shouldn't be even installing lifts. Do you even know how to use tools? Blah, blah, blah. But I've watched a bunch of these guys, you know, lift installer videos, and they use epoxy. So I tried to mention it on there. Like, hey, all I want to know is like what epoxy you guys used. Insane. Like the internet is crazy. So I didn't use epoxy simply because the open time was so short on it that I wasn't confident enough that I'd be able to drive the anchors down in there and get it set up and everything in the amount of time that I had. So the open time was like 2 minutes or a minute or something like that on some of these epoxies. So open time is basically like how long before it sets up and you can't use it anymore. So it'd become hard, or at least somewhat hard, not fully cured, but it was super short. And I didn't trust myself, first time doing this, that I would be able to get those anchors secured in the amount of time that I had. So I just used the anchors. If you guys have any pro tips or whatever, let me know in the comments below. I don't think I'm going to have any problems with this, but, you know, I'd rather be safe than literally dead. It is a lift. I'm going to get some stands to go around the perimeter of the vehicles like we used at Jay's when I did my truck over there. You know, he said that he uses the Harbor Freight ones and he really likes them because of the way the collar works on them. So I am going to get 4 of those. So any vehicle that I do have on the lift, I will have safety stands underneath of it. Lifts have always kind of sketched me out. But anyway, we're going to see what we can get done. I do have some stuff to do today, so I don't know how long I'll get to work out here, but we'll get to it. So these are the locks for it. It's got the little, you know, grabber teeth on it. And the arms here, if you'll check it out, they have like the little teeth on the end, so this engages with that. And it essentially, when you swing the arm, you engage this lock and it holds the arm in whatever position you've set. So they go into here. You're supposed to pull them up to disengage them. So I'm assuming that the spring has to go on the bottom somehow, but I'm not entirely sure how. This is threaded here, this bottom square nut part, this part too. We'll just have to monkey around with it and figure it out. All right, so I think I got this thing figured out. It has some roll pins that it comes with. It's supposed to go in here, but I just put a cotter pin in it for now. But it does come up. There you go. Unlocks, locks, and you can't move it. So basically, yeah, I'll just show you how it goes together. In case somebody has a lift like this, like mine, that has no instructions at all, and you got to figure everything out. I will show you on this side. First, you grab your hinge pin. for your thing, your arm. Make sure it falls into this spot. It does. You just go ahead and grab this thing. Stick it on there. Drop your pin in. Drop your pin in. Drop your pin in. Drop your pin in. All right, so now you've got this contraption here. Spring, some washers, and then this. So the knob, or the little pull knob, you take that off the top. Hopefully you're in frame, or this is in frame. Leaves you with this stuff. We'll set this aside for now. And then essentially it drops in to this hole. Like so. It is adjustable. So this thing slides back and forth, and you'll tighten this thing down, this nut, once you get it inside of here. So once it's inside, you can move this in and out to get it centered onto these teeth right here. Spring goes on the bottom, like so. Washer on top and on bottom of the spring. Essentially, that holds tension on it. So whenever you drop this down, it forces this entire unit down into there, like that. So let's assemble it. Put one of them on, one of these on. Oops. Drop this thing down through here. Washer on top, washer on bottom. Push it up. We'll just use a cotter pin for now. Roll pins have to be pressed in. So now we've got this. Now we just have to adjust the top. All right, you should be able to see it all right. So we've got this. Obviously, it doesn't work like that. It won't lock anything in. So once you kind of get this thing set, what I like to do is pull it up until the spring coil binds at the bottom. Rotate. There's a flat nut on the bottom. You can see it right there. Fits down inside. So we'll get that thing even. Drop this down inside. Then I have a screwdriver. You can stick it behind this little tab and push it forward till the teeth mesh. I think you can see it. Let's move this arm. There we go. Now the teeth have meshed together. So then you spin this down on top. It locks it in pretty good. I don't know if my deep well will fit over that. No, it won't. Can I use the trick on it? I can use the trick on it. The trick is pop it off, let that thing fall down inside the best that you can. And you don't have to totally latch your socket on. And tighten. All right. So let's try the knob, see if it pulls up easy. It does, it's not binding too hard. And there you go. Tighten it up. Now if you have a bigger deep well, then, there you go. But I don't, or a deeper one. But I don't. A 1/2-inch drive would have worked better. But it is what it is. Tighten this thing up. Bada boom, bada bing. She's locked in. Done. Alright everyone, well it's been several days and I got a bunch of the tedious work out of the way on the lift. It wasn't really worth videoing for you guys because it just was boring, turning screws and stuff like that. But I will show you what I got going on. It is raining outside, so you might hear some of the rain on the metal roof. I'm sorry, you're just going to have to bear with me. I can't do anything about that. But let me show you the lift. Alright, first off, this hydraulic hose was a little longer and it kind of wiggle around, so I was afraid that these cables would somehow potentially rub through it. So I cut a piece of PVC pipe down, duct taped it, or not duct tape, electrical taped it on, so that thing should never rub through now. I got all of the locks all adjusted and everything, so those things are good. The little rubber door bumpers, so you don't damage your doors when you open it. Both of the little holders for the extensions, those are on here. I kind of roughed in the adjustment on the cables, so they're all about the same. What's weird about these cables is, like, this one goes to the other side of the lift, and this is a 30 millimeter nut, but these are 5/8 like hex shanks on this cable, so that's kind of weird. So I had to buy a couple of tools to get down in there. I don't really have 30 millimeter stuff, but anyways, these things are basically good to go. There is a difference in the exposed thread on this one versus the other one on the other side, but it's just a visual thing and not a functional problem. It's just because, like, this one I didn't get, you know, down as far or whatever. So anyway, that's just the way it is. Doesn't really matter. I've got enough exposed thread on both cables so there isn't any chance of the nuts pulling through or backing out or anything like that. But I lubed up all the cables. Everything is good. Arms are on. I temporarily wired everything up. So it's good enough for now right here. I mean, this bulkhead connector goes nowhere and doesn't do anything inside the box. So I'm not really sure why it was there. I thought it was maybe for on-off switch, but that would just be on these lines right here. So my plan is to maybe mount an actual, like, hard cutoff switch, you know, so I can cut power right off to this thing if I ever needed to. So I'm probably going to do that. That's why I didn't bother to, you know, finish this all up. This is all marine grade shrink tube. Each one of these wires is 12 gauge line for 20 amp, which is what this is. And each one has a non-insulated butt connector with this marine shrink tube over each one, and then a larger piece over all three to kind of hold together. But you can see some of the glue sticking out there, so I don't have to worry about corrosion or anything. But yeah, so I'll figure out if I'm going to put like an actual, you know, little switch on here or whatever down the road. I did fill it up with some fluid. This will kind of give you an idea what it was like dealing with the instructions. So believe it or not, this thing tells me more than the instructions does, because it says, you know, anti-wear hydraulic oil 46 or 32. Well, on the instructions, which are total garbage, it didn't even say that. It said N32 or N46, like Nancy. And I did some research to figure out like what N meant. I thought it was a standard. I couldn't really figure anything out. So I asked Mortsky what to do, because I figured he knew more about hydraulic stuff than me. He told me to call the company that installed his lift, so I did. And they just said you could use whatever, so as long as it's, you know, 46 or 32. So I got this up at Tractor Supply. The guy did say you could even use ATF in them if you wanted to. You would just have to change it out more because it doesn't last as long. Bummer with this is it's like 48 bucks for this jug, and it took 1.5, so it's like 3 gallons-ish or something like that. I did overfill it just a tad bit because I know that there's air in these lines, and as soon as I start cycling it, it is going to gurgle some of that out. So it should be okay, and even if it's not, I'm below the max level on it anyhow. So I think the only thing left to do right now is to take it for a test drive, make sure that the arms raise and lower at the correct rate, be able to hear the locks click, 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 click until they just click at the same time. Hopefully I can work out all of the air in the line, so we'll go ahead and adjust these things up right now. Now, if you're unfamiliar with how I bought this lift, I bought a tire machine and a balancer at the same time, and this lift was just kind of included. Actually, I bought the lift and I bought the tire machine and everything at the same time, so I really bought the lift first. And the guy he raced like demolition derby type cars where they would like tow a trailer around and crash stuff or whatever. So he used the tire machines and everything, but never installed the lift. So it was brand new. It's like 4 years old or so. And then I've had it for almost a year maybe or so. I don't know, 6, 8 months. Not really sure, but I don't know if it works. So I'm assuming it is because it's brand new, but you know how it goes. It might not work at all. I'm pretty confident in my wiring. I don't think I'm going to have any problems with that. So if anything, I think it would be an issue with just the overall quality of the lift or that power unit. But I guess we're about to find out. So I'll go over there and throw the circuit breaker. Hopefully it doesn't just pop. We'll see. All right, well, we're gonna give it a shot. Let me know if you see smoke. It's on. We're good. All right, I guess we'll find out if it even works at all. Let me put you on a tripod so you'll have a better view of it. This way, if I get electrocuted, at least it's on camera. Yeah, so you can watch it here. It's already went down about 3/4 of an inch. Arms aren't moving yet. These cylinders are starting to move on that side. Check it out. See it? And there we go. Thank goodness. And here's the click-clack. This one is first, that one is second, which means that I have to adjust that one to catch up with this one, or I have to move, or it's the opposite side. I guess we'll see if it actually goes down. It might not because there's not any weight on here. It is going down very slowly. What do I have that weighs something? Well, so when I wiped out on the lift, it's because I stood on this corner, and that's where that little broken edge is. This is a thing I made back in high school, and I just stood on the corner, and over it went, over I went. So that's what happened there. Oh, the locks are on. Derp. Okay, I'm an idiot. Don't mind me. No wonder I couldn't get it to go down. What a moron. So anyway, now that the locks are disengaged, it should lower. I'm going to probably cut all this stuff out. I feel like such an idiot. Hey, look at that. It actually goes down when the locks aren't on. Well, I do remember watching some videos on how to adjust these cables and locks to make them function properly. You did hear that they were off, but that was days ago and my short-term memory is junk, so I'll have to go and try to just tinker around with it and figure it out. One thing I do remember is if you're trying to adjust, like, let's say this lock, you do it with the cable on that side. Same with that lock, you do it with the cable on this side because they cross over. That being said, I don't remember if you have to tighten it or loosen it, and I'll just tinker around with it and figure it out. There are some two different schools of thought that I've run into online as far as lock engagement goes with these. What the manuals say and what all of the pro installers say, well, some of the pro installers, is that you want the locks to engage exactly at the same time. So you hear one clack, 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 you know, like that. And then I've run into some people that are saying that they don't prefer that. They like to hear the individual locks clack on, like not super far apart, but they'd hear clack, 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 clack. So they know that this lock is engaged and then the other lock is engaged. So their reasoning is that if you hear both of them at the same time, if one of them fails and the shop is loud or something like that, and you can't discern exactly the right tone, if one of the locks fails, you might not hear it. But if there's a little offset between the locks engaging, just a little bit, not a bunch, then you would know that both locks have actually, you know, engaged. That makes sense to me. I think I'm going to try to go that route and just offset them just a little bit so I can hear the locks, because this is a cheap lift. Lifts kind of freak me out anyway, so that's the route I'm going to go. All right, well, the lift is all installed and everything should be done. We're going to go ahead and lift up the Jeep, just kind of see how it does. I asked my buddy Rob to give me a hand adjusting these cables because I really needed an extra set of hands. We've got the locks engaging just about at the right time. Getting it exactly level whenever you lift it up, I think that really comes down to how the lift was made. Sometimes it sits down a little bit crooked, like a ½ inch on one side. That's down to the lock dogs being welded on one of the columns, or it's just how crooked the floor is. Who knows? But it's safe. It seems to be working fine. So go ahead and give it a shot. See how it doesn't lower exactly even? It is what it is. So it seems to work okay. And there we have it. A lifelong dream since childhood. I remember, just being in high school, dreaming about the day that I would be able to have a lift of my own, and here we are. It's not necessarily the best in the whole world, but you know what? This is the half-ass garage. Nothing out here is perfect, and I'm okay with that. It's fine. It does the job. It's going to make life a lot easier, and it sure beats laying in the gravel and on this dirty old mouse crap floor. So I'm really happy to have it. I'm super fortunate to be in a position where I can have this thing anyway, so pretty happy about that. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed. I'm sorry it was a little bit of a longer video, but this was a project to put in, especially since I don't really know what I'm doing. It took a lot of extra time, and there was a lot of steps that I had to redo because I made mistakes and whatever. So it is what it is. Just don't get frustrated with your project if it doesn't go perfectly the first time. I do edit these for time, so it is what it is. I make a lot of mistakes, but they're always as safe as I can make them, especially with something like this. So anyway, just keep that in mind. Don't ever give up on what you want to do, and then maybe you can have a cheap Chinese lift too. Anyhow, thanks a lot for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll get working on some cool stuff here once I can get this mess cleaned up. So, I'll catch you on the next one.